Steve, my good man, how the devil are you?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm wonderful, my friend. I spent a few days in the Big Smoke. I went to London, which was quite
Nice.
exciting. Went to a gig, went to see Bring Me the Horizon, which
Nice.
was incredible. A band I've never seen before. And honestly, man, they put on a fucking show. It was really, really good.
Nice. It's always good when everything is hunky dory at the gig.
Yes, exactly, and it was cracking. It was weird to be in a room with 16,000 people,
bet.
though. That was it took some getting used to. It took some getting used to being on the tube, but everyone was masked up.
Yeah.
And then, but being at the gig, there was no one masked up. It was very strange, and we were only in seated because they ran out of standing tickets, so we got seated tickets. And then I was pretty fuming because everyone stood up anyway. I was like, "Fuck's sake, I've got a seat here. Why the fuck should I have to stand?" But here we are. I had to stand. But it was weird to be in a room with that many people without masks. But it was a fucking cracking show, mate. Really, really good.
Good. Yeah, I remember sending you a message asking you what it was like, and you're like, awesome.
Yeah, it was, man. It's one of the times that you go to a gig and the headline act could have been at a festival. Like the stage was incredible, the light show they put on was absolutely fantastic. It was just an incredible gig, and if anyone listening likes Bring Me the Horizon at all and has been thinking, I might go to this latest world tour, definitely go. It was absolutely incredible.
Well, it's
And tell them we sent you, and maybe tell them to send me a commission. That'd be great too.
send him some free tickets.
Yeah, exactly. I'd go again.
Yeah. I'm trying to think the last gig I went to. We did see Queen tribute act at Carrow Road a few weeks back.
Yeah, I remember you saying about that. That looked pretty good from the videos and
That
stuff.
was good. Yeah, that was really good. It was more of a musical.
Okay.
Well, it had the cast of some West End people in it. The band were bloody awesome.
Yeah.
Really, really good. They nailed the music. But what I didn't expect was there was two backing singers, one male, one female. They both got on and did some songs.
Okay.
But there was a male and female lead singer as well.
Oh,
And they
interesting.
both swapped and changed. And it was really good.
Okay.
There's nothing. I haven't really heard anyone else sing apart from some tribute acts, Queen songs before. But hear some of the songs sung for a female voice was really, really good.
Yeah.
Just really different.
I mean, Freddie Mercury, to be fair, had an incredible vocal range, so
Yeah.
it sort of makes sense that there's not many human beings that have that sort of vocal range, so it sort of makes sense to get a male and a female vocalist in, because a normal male singer and a normal female singer have probably got a similar vocal range to Freddie Mercury.
Yeah. The main male singer, he did the whole, what was it, Dido Ray, where he goes for all the pitches and notes. He did that really well. Main lead guitarist was nuts. He was insane as well. That was a good night. But
Good stuff, man. I love the Queen. What was the Queen film called? We Will Rock You, wasn't it? I think. Yeah, that was a banger, mate.
I've not seen that.
It's really good.
I'll try to think of the actor's name.
He was the same guy that was in Robot.
Yeah.
But I don't know his name.
Oh god, no! I picture him straight away.
Yeah.
Just can't think of his name. Not seen it. Must watch it.
It's really good. It's one of those that there are, to be fair at the moment, a lot of really good musical biopics. The Dirt, the Motley Crue one. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
That is a banger. That's one of my best films of the last few years, without a doubt. But the We Will Rock You one was cracking. A really, really good film. Definitely worth a watch.
I do like Motley Crue.
I feel like I missed out a bit on the Motley Crue thing. I think a part of it's I'm a bit young to have seen them ever anyway. Yeah, that wasn't even a dig this time, man. That was just me being me.
For everyone else's appreciation, I was just pointing at myself.
Yeah,
the 40+ bracket, who grew up with it, loved it.
But I do feel like I missed out a bit because I could have seen them. I had opportunities to see them growing up, but I never really bothered. But now I sort of wish I had, because they do look like they put on a great show. And I've gone back and watched like videos of their shows and stuff, and it looks amazing.
Yeah, I never got the opportunity to go, but I would have loved to.
Yeah.
There's a lot of old bands. I look back through it or look at my Spotify, and I'm like, God, I'd love to see you.
Yeah.
Love to see you. Love to see you. Why didn't I go?
That's the thing. And at the moment, I'm sort of in this place where, with all the music festivals, Download Festival coming up for 2022 is maybe the best festival lineup I have ever seen on paper.
Never been to Download.
Download's a banger, mate. I've been 3 times, 2009, 2010 and 2015 I went. 2009 was amazing because I got to see Slipknot for the first time, which just blew me away. 2010 was amazing, but the weather was shit. 2009, the weather was amazing. 2010, it was shit. And then 2015 was just a banger as well. It was the first festival I went to with Cherie as well, which was pretty great.
Noise.
And the first festival I went to post spinal injury, so that was quite a big thing as well. But yes, 2010 when I saw Corey Taylor of Slipknot again, performing with Stone Sour, and it was just after Paul Gray, the Slipknot bassist, had died.
Right.
And oh mate, honestly, there's one point on stage where he just breaks down into tears, and it's one of those moments I think will go down in my memory and probably in musical history. It's just one of those moments where it just was electric. The crowd, man. There's Corey Taylor on stage. They were playing Through the Glass, which is this really slow, chill song from, I think it's the second Stone Sour album. And he just breaks down halfway through. And they were headlining second stage, so I would estimate 40, 50,000 people watching. And just the crowd erupted, and it was just this emotion flooding through the crowd, like something I've never experienced before or since. Like the feeling of being there was absolutely incredible. And it kind of makes me, every time I think about it, I'm like, and I talk about it now, and it puts quite a grin on my face. But it's the same way people talk about like Woodstock '69 and stuff. Yeah. Like, it's that same. I feel myself getting all amped up by it. It really was incredible. There. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's sort of how I feel about it. It was great.
Yeah, really moments good. In life are good. Like, you know, when you're going to go to a festival, it's going to be good.
Yes.
But when you get something chucked in the mix like that, and like you say, it will be with you until the day you die.
Yes, certainly.
You know, you'll be 80 years old, sitting in your rocking chair, going, "I remember."
Yes, exactly. And I've been telling that story for the last 6 or 7 years, and I will continue to tell that story now.
No, exactly.
I say 6 or 7 years because I just got my dates confused. It's actually like 11 years.
I was going to say,
fuck, 11 years. It's like 12 years since I went to my first festival, man. That feels like a while ago. I remember being picked up from, I'd just finished my A-level exams, and one of my friends who'd left college the year before waited, and we missed most of Friday of the festival, so he could pick me up from college, and then we met other friends there. Incredible. Yeah, love it, mate. I really need to get back to another festival.
I think my festival days are probably over, unless it's Peppa Pig Land.
Oh, but that could be fun, maybe.
Some weird, trippy, drug-fueled alternate.
That's the best thing about festivals, though, and it's not the taking of the drugs, although I'm quite pro that, if that's your thing. It's the seeing other people having taken a shitload of drugs, because I've never experienced something, again, it's Download Man, where I saw a guy who was so mullered on acid. I can only assume it was acid by his pupils. Like, it was hallucinogenic anyway, whatever he'd taken. He was just gone. And he was just like, it's one point where I felt this person just like stroking my back. I was like, what the fuck is happening? And I turned around and just saw this guy who was short, man. He was like 5'4" maybe. And he just looked up and he went, "There's grass on your back." I was like, "All right, bro, thanks." And he's like, "I'll get it off." And he just turned me round and then just carried on stroking my back. And I was like, "Cheers, bro." I sort of left him to it. I was like, he's fucking harmless. That's fine, whatever. And then 4 or 5 hours later, I saw the same kid sitting next to a giant poster of Ozzy Osbourne next to a small child. Or they were kind of facing each other, and he was just rolling this ball back and forth with this small child who must have been 4 or 5 years old, man. Properly young, and this small child's family were all there just like, "Isn't this guy a blast?" And they clearly, obviously, they all knew. They're all at this festival. They're all like looking like, 40, 50-year-old. They ride Harleys. They look like fucking Hell's Angels going on here, and they're just having a blast. They know he's fucked, but he's just this harmless guy who's just in this universe of his own, just rolling a ball back and forth with the child. It was amazing, mate. It was so good.
I just imagine him just picturing that kid with a big bobblehead of Ozzy Osbourne.
Yeah.
He's gone home and told his mates, "I played football with Ozzy Osbourne to Download."
Yeah, it was quite amazing, mate. I love it. I love the entire festival atmosphere. But Harley Davidson's there, Steve. We've gone a few minutes into the show without ever mentioning motorbikes, so
we should probably remind everyone this is a motorbike-based podcast.
Exactly, and specifically MotoGP. So I feel like every now and again when we get these long intros, Steve, and this is another example of that, where I don't know how many minutes in now, but we've only just mentioned MotoGP for the first time, and I feel like people might download this show thinking that it's a MotoGP podcast and just listen to us chat shit for 10 minits. Like, what the fuck?
They're probably just all very confused.
They're all just like, "Nah, I don't know what's happening here, but I ain't listening anymore."
This is probably why when we look on YouTube, our watch list is like 5 minutes only.
Yes, exactly. And the people are like, "No, I don't know what these two are talking about. That's enough of that."
This is MotoGP. Off, you muppets.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't think we've ever said on the show before, Steve, but we do actually release these podcasts now. We are getting back into doing it regularly on YouTube as well. So if any of you would rather listen on YouTube, you can find it. It's not released. They are released every week still, but it's not on the same days, and it often takes us a couple of days to get them onto YouTube.
Yeah, that's mainly because I try, and my laptop is older than me.
Your laptop does take 3 or 4 days to render a video and get it ready for YouTube.
I have to do half of it on my phone because it's just quicker, and then I have to do everything else on the laptop, which blows its mind. And 9 times out of 10, I have to admit, I have to message Tim.
Yeah, I'll go in and do the tags and stuff, mate. Don't worry.
Yeah, because my laptop looks at me and goes, "No."
Yeah, quite.
No.
But it's also, there is no video to that, to be fair. When I say rendering the video, it's just making the actual video. It's still audio only. So one day I think we will get round to actually setting up cameras and doing it properly so you can see our beautiful faces on YouTube as well. But that day is not today.
If we're going to do that, if we're going to record here, I better clean my house up.
Yeah. I won't worry about it, mate. One day, when all this ad money starts paying off, we'll get a studio somewhere.
We'll buy someone's garage.
Exactly. Now, Steve, there's not a huge amount going on in the MotoGP world.
There isn't, no, mate. We're in that weird transition week between races where all the riders are just off with their families doing their own thing, have a little mini break.
Yes.
Everything that really could be announced has been announced this year. We've had the test. We know what's happened there.
Yeah, exactly. There's not really a huge amount else going on, but
there's a few bits.
Exactly. And we will dive into the bits of news we have, shall we?
Let's go for it.
Good stuff. So, guys, I'm Tim. He's Steve, and this is For the Love of MotoGP. Now, if you're new to MotoGP, guys, and you got through our 10 minutes of chatting shit just then, welcome. And if you have no idea what's going on in the MotoGP world, scroll back through this podcast feed and you will find our introduction to MotoGP. It's a show aimed at people who have no idea what's going on in the MotoGP world, and it tells you everything you need to know to enjoy the sport that we all love. It's a fun one. I'm slaughtered, Steve's sober, and it's just a fun show. So go back and enjoy it, but it is a longie.
Was I sober? Did I drink?
I honestly, Steve, mate, we'd recorded for 4 or 5 hours that day, and I was so shit-faced by the end of it that I don't even know anymore.
I think I'd had a few at the start, but then I ran out. So by the time we got to the end, I'd actually sobered up.
You'd sobered up, and I couldn't even say For the Love of MotoGP anymore.
That was one of the best bits ever. If we did an end of season bloopers sketch,
it'll be in there somewhere.
Yeah. I'm Tim, and this is what I love a movie.
And 3 or 4 times I went through that. 3 or 4 times I failed to say the name of the show, man.
Absolutely brilliant. Check it out. It's a good show. If you need to know anything about MotoGP, we try our best.
Exactly. And we'll be doing one of those every year, I think.
Yeah.
Doing a new introduction, explaining the storylines, explaining what the race weekend, the teams, the riders, everything you really need to know. So, Steve, MotoGP. Before we go on to MotoGP, I have a couple of Formula One based things I want to talk about here.
Go for it.
I can hear some of you out there groaning already. The fucking 4 wheels already. Tim's always on about Formula One, but honestly, this season is maybe the season to get into Formula One. If you haven't done so far, try and go back and watch the races because it's been a banger of a year. It's a year much like MotoGP 2015, where the title fight really will come down to the last race. It's absolutely cracking, and this weekend was an incredible race in Russia.
I was there going to say they were in Russia. The only thing I saw really was Hamilton, spoiler, took the win.
He did take the win, but it wasn't a guaranteed win for most of the race.
Wasn't it the 100th win?
It was his most 100th win. Yes, he's now he's first place and has been first place in the all-time win record for a while. Michael Schumacher is now second with 91 wins. Hamilton has now spiked 100 wins at 100 and something pole positions. But it's just an incredible record he's been having, and a lot of that is down to the incredible run that he's had with Mercedes. But that's not to take away from what he's done in Formula One. What he's done in Formula One is akin to what Michael Schumacher did in Formula One, to what Valentino Rossi did in MotoGP. It's just sensational what he's been able to do. But this weekend was an absolute banger. We nearly saw McLaren, for fuck's sake, take back-to-back wins. They won their first race in 9 years at the penultimate race. Not the penultimate race, but the last race. And then they very nearly took another win here. But this was like... And I was standing there in your bathroom earlier, Steve, having a wee, trying to compare it to to what it would have been like on the MotoGP grid, really, with Lando Norris, who's never won a race in MotoGP. He's this in Formula One. Sorry, he's this super fun young guy who did once sport a Valentino Rossi replica helmet in Formula One. So there we go. There's our link. And he's had multiple podiums this year. McLaren are on the rise again. And he was so close to the win, mate. So close. If the race ended 4 laps earlier, he'd have won. But it fucked it down with rain. He said he didn't want to go in. He had a bit of a debate over the radio because Formula One, we have a ship-to-shore radio, so we get to hear the conversation between the pit wall and the driver. He refused to come in for the inters, and that shot him in the foot in the end, sadly. But I can't think of an equivalent in MotoGP. It would be like Johann Zarco coming within half a lap of winning a race, because we've got to bear in mind a Formula One race. I think this was a 50-lap race or something, so it would be like Johann Zarco losing with 1 lap to go.
Isn't
because
that quite short for a Formula One race?
They're all generally around 200 kilometres, I want to say.
Right.
But Sochi's quite a long track. So, which is why, if you're going somewhere like Monaco, you're looking at a 70, 80 lap race. By comparison, if you're going to Spa, which is a really long lap, you're looking at like a 40, 42 lap race or something. So the race is much like MotoGP. They're kind of the same distance, but different laps.
There's quite a few people at work, obviously. I work with a lot of people who absolutely adore Formula One. Richard, who's in my team as well, my team leader, he's absolutely Formula One mad. Now he said how good this year has been.
It's been a classic, mate. This year has been a real classic. Yeah. A real classic in the title battle, but every race has been a classic. Like, I think if you were to look at the last decade of Formula One races, the top 10, you'd probably say 4 or 5 of them would come from this year.
Right.
It's just been an incredible year for Formula One, and it's thanks to a rule change that didn't look like it was going to make much difference at the start of the year, but has made a massive impact.
What rule change was that?
So it was supposed to be pre-pandemic. We were supposed to go into this year with what they were calling the 2021 regs, which was going to be a complete overhaul of the aero packages going on in the Formula One cars. So it was supposed to be, this isn't actually what happened, but it was supposed to be a taken away from the overall aero package and getting the grip and attraction from ground effect. So rather than creating, that dirty air behind you, and we saw a lot of complaints about this in MotoGP when we had the wings and stuff coming in. They were saying it's actually getting a bit dangerous to follow because all this dirty air is flying around and it's hard to predict what's going on. And Formula One has struggled with this dirty air for a while. As a car is going along, it's creating all this outwash, it's creating horrible vortices and stuff behind, which means the cars behind can't get close enough to follow and keep all their downforce. They're getting within 2 or 3 car lengths and losing 50% of their downforce.
Right.
So it's very, very hard to follow. But they're going back to ground effect, which means a lot of the grip is going to be created by negative pressure underneath the car. So it's a lot
sucks the actual car down.
Exactly, Venturi tunnels and stuff going on under the car. So that's going to be the huge change into next year. But due to the pandemic, they didn't want to put this on, so they're saying we'll wait a year. So they've just changed. It's a small change. When you look at the cars, you can't really see much difference. But they changed the floor of the cars to just make downforce a bit harder to get this year. They've kind of cut the rear end of the floor away just slightly. It's really just a small amount, a triangle off each side, but it's made a huge impact in Formula One.
Is this why the cars are so radically different next year? So I know that
next year they're going into the 2021 regs, although it will be 2022. So that's when they're going to look incredible. That's when they're going into ground force, like that old show with Tommy Walsh and Alan Titchmarsh.
I was going to say, for anyone who's not in the UK, Google that. You're in for a shock.
They're going to the ground effect so the cars can follow, and in theory it will mean that a car following within one car's distance behind will still have something like 86% of the downforce and have loads of grip, so it will just create close racing is the whole point.
I've seen some stills or like designs of the cars for next year and they look nuts.
They look great.
They do look exact, and they look, like you say, thinner, slimmer, wheels look different.
Yeah, well, they're going to low-profile wheels for the first time. They're currently on, I think it's, what have they got at the minute? Right, these numbers are going to be wrong because I can't remember the exact, but I'm going to say they've got 18-inch wheels, but 13-inch rims at the moment. So the tyre is a huge tyre. I was going to say,
it's a massive, and it expands a lot as well during the race, doesn't it? Like a drag car.
Yes, very much so. You see them when they go around the corners and stuff, the tyres flex and they move, but they're also very strictly regulated. They're during the tyre wars, much like Michelin Bridgestone in Formula One, not MotoGP, sorry, Formula One when they had the also Michelin Bridgestone.
I was going to say
Oh, was it Michelin Bridgestone? Ah, fuck, I can't remember. But anyway, they had tyres that would do weird things, and as you go around a corner, the contact patch would expand, giving you more grip and stuff. So that's very well regulated now. But much like MotoGP, there is only a sole tyre supplier. Pirelli and Michelin.
I was going to say, yeah, in Formula One.
Yeah, is it Pirelli now? Yeah, it's Pirelli now, isn't it?
Yeah, Pirelli's World Superbike supplier, isn't it?
Yes, and I think Pirelli do the P0. Is that a Pirelli tyre?
Yeah,
that's who is doing Formula One tyres now. Pirelli. And it might have been a Michelin Bridgestone war going on.
I don't know.
A while ago. Anyway, there was an incredible, weird race, 2006, where the tyre war went too far, and they went to Indianapolis with a banked corner, and only 6 cars could start the race because the is it Michelin? I can't remember now, and I'm not going to Google it. But one of the tyre suppliers, the tyres couldn't hold up to the banked corners. The lateral load was blowing tyres, so only 6 cars could start the race. It was Michael Schumacher's only win that year. Might have been 2005, actually.
Oh, I see.
But anyway, yes, Formula One this year is cracking. Honestly, guys, if you haven't watched or never got into Formula One, this really is the season to do it. And even if you want to wait, actually, Drive to Survive at the end of the year on Netflix will be fucking incredible this year.
Michelin Bridgestone.
It was Michelin Bridgestone, was it? Okay.
Yeah, I had a quick Google.
Okay, that's cool. I was sort of right about it then, and then I confused myself because obviously Michelin and Bridgestone were the tyre suppliers in MotoGP during the tyre war as well, but it's Pirelli's now.
All right. Yeah, I think what I'm going to do with Formula One this year, because everyone has said how good this year is. And everyone knows me now. I'm not a massive Four Wheels fan. Not for racing anyway. I don't find it close enough. I find the gaps spread out too quickly, and I don't like the strategy behind it so much.
Whereas I love that. That's one of my favourite parts.
That's where we differ.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing we differ on.
Yes.
Is just the strategy. I don't like where the pit changes come into it. I think it should be car, driver. Yeah. And that's it. I don't think anyone else. Your pit crew, yes, they play a part. And obviously, you've got to change tyres in Formula One for safety reasons, etc. So,
but it's also to spice up the racing. Which is why they've mandated tyre changes, was to spice up the racing.
Yeah, that's the one bit I cannot get my head around. I've watched or tried to watch some Formula One races where they talk about strategy so much, and I'm like, well, your strategy is to win the race, mate. Be the fastest.
But that's the fun thing, because there's more than it. And this is where IndyCar is very different from Formula One. And Romain Grosjean, who's gone from Formula One to IndyCar, has been saying this. He's like, it's incredible, because in Formula One, you've really got to look after your tyres. If you're on the soft tyre at the start of the race, which is the optimum tyre to be on at the start of the race, you've really got to drag that tyre out for as long as you can. If you can get it to 20 laps on most tracks, then you're fucking golden, because that is amazing. But you're really not driving flat out to do that. You're maybe 4 seconds a lap slower than you would be. So you've really got to look after the tyres. But he's saying in IndyCar, it's a completely different ball game. You are flat out between pit stops. It's just you're sprinting between pit stops. And he's been saying that actually IndyCar, he's finding much more fun for that reason.
Yeah. I will watch it. I think what we're going to do with Formula One this year is wait till the season's over and go back and just watch the lot, like binge watch a series.
Yeah.
So I think that is the key with me. I get bored in between.
Yes.
So the next race will come around. I'm like, that's one will be shit. This one will be shit.
And that's the problem with Formula One, because sometimes you get a run of shit races, and there are shit races in Formula One. But this year, I think we've maybe had 2 or 3 shit races, and we're 14 or 15 races into the year.
Yeah.
It's been
How
a
many's
really
left?
good year.
How many
7
I'd
left.
say there's more than MotoGP, I know. So
yeah, I mean, it's going on till nearly December.
It's like a real packed calendar for now, because we've got 4 races left in the MotoGP.
Yeah,
but they are a little spread out. Whereas Formula One is pretty much packed in there, isn't it? Because you look at like the Sky Planner and you go through the list of what's on. It's all Formula One coming up.
Yeah, it's going to be a banging end to these. There's 2 or 3 points now between Lewis and Max. Like nice. It's really, really hotting up. It's going to be a really cracking end to the season, I think.
Yeah, I think I'll wait. I think I'll avoid everything. Obviously, you can't avoid who wins.
I mean, you're going to know.
It's all over social media.
And if it's Lewis Hamilton, it'll be all over the English-speaking papers as well.
It always is. Like, I don't follow any Formula One stuff on social media, but the first day it came up at the weekend, Sunday, 100th win.
Yeah, exactly.
Straight away,
it comes up quick.
Just people retweet it. It's social media.
Yes, exactly.
It gets around. It does.
And I didn't watch it till Monday, and I managed to avoid that. So I did manage to, but I was a bit on like a social media, like, no.
You've got to be on an absolute purge. You cannot go. You can't touch anything.
I mean, I can't even go on Google News on my phone. No, because if I go on the news, it pops up. I'm like, fuck.
Formula One being so much bigger than MotoGP. anything. Like it doesn't matter who wins. It's
Yeah.
always if there's some drama or a big crash, it's there. Like Grosjean's crash.
Oh mate, you know
couldn't
about
miss
quick.
it.
I mean, Grosjean's crash appeared on Gogglebox for fuck's
Yeah,
sake.
exactly.
Like it's just insane how quickly that the Formula One stuff just appears across the ether.
Explodes across everything. I mean, MotoGP does make its mainstream news every now and again. I'm sure if we moved to Italy or Spain,
Certainly, it would be more in the news.
more
Yeah,
prominent than what it is here in the UK. If we had a championship winning MotoGP rider here in the UK,
I mean, if we had a Barry Sheen going on right now,
yeah, it would
then
be
it would be-
everywhere.
But then you say that, but Johnny Ray on World Superbikes is on a
you don't hear
tear,
it.
and you don't hear it.
Yeah, there was a big thing about him on the British Sports Personality of the Year award.
Yeah.
He was nominated, I think it was year.
He's
1
been
or 2
nominated
years
multiple
ago.
times during
Yeah.
this championship run.
But even did he win it? I can't remember if he won it or not. I think he did,
Didn't he?
or come second, or something like that.
I think he won like Irish Personality of the Year.
Something like that.
I
You
think
just
he
don't
won the
hear
British
of it.
one. Yeah.
It just shows you the difference over here, like how mainstream things are. You could have like Foggy Days that
Yes.
made the motorcycle news, which is a big motorcycle.
Well, I mean,
newspaper
to be
over
fair,
here.
Johnny Ray makes the motorcycle news, but
He
that
does.
doesn't hit mainstream
No,
news.
that's the
Motorcycle
whole
news is
point,
still
yeah.
a niche paper, isn't it?
It is that small print newspaper which is in your local retailer every week, but it's not headlines.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
most
And
people.
your local like paper chain or whatever might
Yeah.
have 4 or 5 copies of it.
Yeah, I mean, you could rock up to any major town in the UK and you could blurt out a load of names, and people would probably look at you with blank faces. 'Cause they
Yeah,
wouldn't
not
have
a clue.
who they are, because it's
But
just not mainstream.
Exactly, but Formula One, you
Yeah.
could probably, I would say, average Joe, you could name
Are you-
5 drivers. That would be 25% of the grid, and people would have heard of them all.
Yeah, excluding all the names that everyone knows. You could roll up, say Rossi, and everyone knows who you're on about.
Yeah, and even Marquez. Actually,
yeah,
I think now.
Marquez now, and even a few others that have gone by, like Lorenzo, Pedrosa. You might get a reaction from them, but
Yeah.
if you roll up and said, right, when was the last time Randy DePunio rode a MotoGP bike?
Everyone's
People
like,
just go, huh?
oh, they'll go, is that the guy that had the Playboy bunny?
Yeah, that was him, and that was an awesome bike.
Yeah.
I loved it.
But yes, Formula One is the one. And to be fair, Drive to Survive, when it comes out, probably February, March time, whenever it comes out on Netflix, will be cracking this year.
Yeah, definitely go watch that.
And speaking of Netflix, Steve, and more Formula One stuff here, I'm aware this is a MotoGP podcast, but there's really not much going on in the MotoGP world, so we're just going to talk about racing. The Schumacher documentary, Steve, have you watched it yet?
I haven't. It is on my to watch list just because it is about Schumacher.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch it. I will get round to it. It's just finding the time.
That's
Very
right. I mean,
busy,
it's
isn't
2.5 hours, so it's
Exactly,
a long
yeah.
haul.
I did look at it. It popped up on my phone. I was like, "Ooh, that would be a good one." Ooh, well, look at the time.
Yeah, it was a 2-bath film for me. I watched it over 2 days in the bath.
Yeah,
So,
I can't do that. I have to watch it in one hit. I'm too
Okay.
impatient. So I will find the time. It is just find the time. 9 times out of 10, it's a late night. Boys are in bed. Sarah's asleep or gone to bed, and I'm like, right, I'm gonna put this on.
Yeah.
That's the time, because I like to give stuff like that my full attention.
Yeah.
And
It's certainly worth it, mate. It's a very, very good watch.
Yeah, I normally it's a bit of a lonely life.
It's okay, mate. I watch these things in the bath, so I've also living a lonely life on this front.
You got a
when it
double in
comes
the
to
bath?
yeah, fair. When it comes to motorsport stuff, Steve, aside from talk to you about all of this stuff, and I can chat to my brother about it sometimes, and a couple of friends, but otherwise, if I'm at home, it's just me in the bath watching racing.
I see. This is where we differ. I'm lucky because the number of people I work with, motorsport fans in
That's
that
fair.
place, are coming out my ears. There's one guy there, Simon, MotoGP nuts, Formula One nut. Richard Flick, who's my team leader, Formula One nut. You could pretty much, you'd be great in there. You'd love it.
I'd just be in my own, be in my
yeah.
element, just chatting to people. I wouldn't get any fucking work done, Steve. That's the problem.
You fit right in.
No, whereas I'm sort of the opposite. I work with 3 people, mate. I work with Cherie, and then essentially our bosses who live in Spain. So I only ever speak to them on Skype once a fortnight, and then just chat over Slack to them. And they don't want to give a shit about racing. They live in Spain. It pains me every now and again. I make a MotoGP reference, and one of them will be like, "Who's Danny Pedrosa?" And the other one will be like, "Oh, you know that fella that's on the petrol station guy, you know." And I'm like, "Not the petrol station guy. No, that's not who he is." And they're like, "Yeah, he's on all the petrol stations." I'm like, "Oh, for fuck's
It's
sake!"
insane, isn't it? It is. I'd love to go back to Spain now, like mainland or Italy, and just roll up. Where did we go? We went to Greece on one of the islands, and there was nothing, absolutely nothing. But then some of my friends, like yourself, you've been abroad, and I've seen other friends who come back with all these pictures like cutouts.
Yeah.
That they see that were like advertising stuff. Like we saw Dolby advertising stuff, and he was in the windows of like Ducati dealerships and all
Yeah.
other stuff. Lorenzo's on clothes shops and all this stuff, and it's just we get fuck all
And it's
over
nothing. I remember being in Thailand, mate, in 2015 and buying a pack of cigarettes advertised by Dovi. Like, it was Dovi there holding a pack of Marlboro cigarettes.
Nice.
The cardboard cutout. And I was like, this is fucking weird. I'm like, I don't know if he knows that he's advertising
No,
cigarettes.
someone's just
but I mean, but
superimposed
to be
his
fair,
face.
Ducati, they're sponsored by Philip Morris. Philip Morris owned Marlboro. So,
Exactly.
like, I'm sure he did know this was going on, but it was just strange. I'm like, this is weird. It's like an elite level athlete advertising cigarettes.
Fags.
It was very weird, man.
Yeah. Well, I've got some signs. I have. Mum has at her garage. My granddad used to collect signs, like old memorabilia,
Okay.
and he's got old metal signs that used to be outside doctors. Advertise a doctor recommending you smoke fags for like laryngitis.
That's the weirdest thing,
Yeah,
man,
back
isn't
from the
it?
40s and 50s.
Uh-huh.
You know,
And
so
this
it's
is an
so
era where
freaky.
actually science knew that cigarettes were really bad for you, but
Yeah.
people were getting paid a lot of money to advertise these things.
Yeah, I mean, like my nan said she was given fags at school when she was 14.
That's the
She had a
strangest
sore
thing, man.
throat.
isn't it?
Have a fag.
It's weird. It's weird
It's
stuff,
really
mate.
weird. Yeah, it's right. By fag we mean cigarette smoke.
Yes, exactly. We've covered
we
this
have
one
been
before,
over that
haven't
one,
we?
yeah.
We've still got our old British ways of describing things, so apologies actually on that front if we have insulted anyone. But Steve's an old man now, and he ain't going to change his ways. So what can we do about that?
Stuck in my ways. As I actually got told the other day at work.
Did you? You were
Yes.
stuck in your ways.
Stuck in my ways. I gave it the classic. That's not how we used to do it. This young apprentice went me. Oh, dinosaur. What?
That's gold, man. That's gold.
So how old are you? You're 16. Fuck off.
So, Steve, watching the Schumacher documentary, it got me thinking a bit about the best MotoGP and motorcycle racing films and documentaries that I've seen. And I listed a few off. And I know during the off-season, was it last year? It wasn't last year, was it the year before?
Yeah,
we did a couple of reviews. We we watched Faster, we watched Fastest. I think we did one on Hitting the Apex as well.
Yeah, we did.
And then and obviously they are great films. The first two there narrated by Ewan McGregor, and then Hitting the Apex was narrated by Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Which I still find strange. I still find it weird when you see Brad Pitt on the grid and stuff.
Yeah, that still freaks me out a little bit.
Yeah, I'm like,
It's
this
not-
really has hit the mainstream for some people.
Yeah, but it's a connection you don't always make. Mm-hmm. You know, Ewan McGregor, yeah, he did the long way round, famous for motorbike stuff.
Yeah, we know he likes bikes, yeah.
Yeah. All right, I'm sure someone out there in the world will read the glossy mags and know Brad Pitt rides a bike.
Yeah.
But it's not to average Joe or someone who's not really into that stuff. You don't put the connection together.
And he's like an A-list star. Like Ewan McGregor, to be fair, probably in the UK is an A-list star.
Oh, God, yeah.
But outside of the UK, probably isn't.
I don't know, he's in Star Wars, so...
He was in Star Wars, but then
Niche,
I remember watching The Long Way Up, and he goes into some shop, and they're like showing Star Wars, and he's just walking around. He's like, "That's me," and everyone's like, "Who are you?"
Yeah.
So I don't know if he is like an A-list star elsewhere.
I don't know. It depends what movies it is you like Trainspotting. Everyone knows Trainspotting.
That's fair, and I watched an interview with Ewan McGregor, and he was saying that he went through American Customs one time, and they were like, "What did you do for a living?" He's like, "I'm an actor." Any films we might have seen? And this was just after Trainspotting had come out, and he's like, "Yeah, I did Trainspotting." They're like, "Come this way, sir."
Yeah.
And then they actually fully searched him, and I mean fully searched him. It was a proper strip search. It was is there you hiding anything inside you search? Like, it was a proper. He's like,
Yeah, I remember
"I'm
seeing
just
that.
an actor." He's like, "It was just a film about heroin. I'm not actually a heroin addict."
Brilliant. See, sometimes a big job like that will get you in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. You get caught by the TSA somewhere.
Yeah, we've done reviews on bike.
Yeah, we've
movie
done
shows
those ones.
before.
And then, yeah, it got me thinking more. I'm like, the Ice Superbiker films. Now, I've seen, these have followed the British Superbike series, and I've seen 2 of these, but there's 4, as it turns out. I didn't realise
Yeah,
there was
you
4.
said earlier. I didn't realise there was 4 earlier. I've seen 1, I think.
The first one was the Tommy Hill one, which was really good. There was the second one would have been based on the 2012 season, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
No, it would have been based on the 2011 season.
Yes.
And then there's the 2012 and the 2013 season. So I haven't actually seen the 2012 and 2013 ones. So I'm going to go back and find them. But if you're in the UK, the first film is coming to Netflix this week. So, I mean, if you get a chance and you haven't seen it, it's well worth a watch. It's very good.
Yeah, one I've seen is very good.
Yeah. The other films I was thinking, Steve, TT, Close to the Edge. Obviously, it made Guy Martin who he is today.
Yep.
A banging film.
That
really,
is
really,
really,
good.
really good.
On Any Sunday. Now, the original of this came out in 1971.
I should say there's several of these, I think.
Oh, is there? I only know of two. I know of the one that came out in the 70s, and then there's one that came out a few years ago, but I haven't seen the newer one.
Um, I've only seen the '70s one.
Okay. I think both of them follow multiple racing. They follow the
Yeah,
Premier Class in MotoGP. I think they follow some World Superbike. They do some dirt tracking. They do some speedway. They cover a lot of and motocross and stuff. So they cover multiple series there.
yeah.
And the 70s one is really good if you get a chance to watch that. I haven't seen the newer one.
I no, I've only seen the night. I think it was 1971 came out.
Yes. Yeah, it
Something
is.
like that. Anyway, it is bloody good.
Yeah.
Really have a look at that. But yeah, it covers multiple disciplines. It's just about racing on a Sunday.
Yeah, exactly.
Then gives it away. So, but it's good. Check it out if you get a chance.
And the other one I thought of was Road, the Michael Dunlop documentary, which is an incredible film. But much like Michael Dunlop's book, it has a weird feeling when you watch it now of knowing
Yeah,
then
post.
what goes on later in his life. Obviously, at the time the film and the book were written, both his uncle in Joey Dunlop, King of the Mountain, the guy who owned the Isle of Man TT and road racing, had died in a road race. His dad, Robert Dunlop, had died in a road race. But at the time, his brother had not died road racing, so
No.
it feels very strange watching it now.
Yeah, some things like that do feel very weird when you look back, or if you're watching it post
Yeah.
events, post death, or whatever for riders to come. Yeah, sometimes it does feel a little strange watching it back.
Yeah, and seeing the interviews with them and stuff, it feels a
Yeah.
bit weird watching it now. It's a very, very good film.
It is
and
good.
I think it's more emotionally charged because we know what happened later. And,
Yeah, that's it. Especially if you love like the sport.
yeah.
And you can remember. I can remember all the deaths, unfortunately. So yeah, when you look at it sort of through that, you think, oh, I know what's coming.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, it's only a few years down the line when you're watching it. Like, oh, this
Yeah,
isn't
you're
nice.
thinking this chapter's going to end soon.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, don't let that put you off. Watch it. It's bloody
Certainly.
good.
And actually, his book is very, very good. But
Yes.
his book feels even more foreshadowing than the film because in his book, he does mention it. He's like, at some point, I'm sure me and my brother are going to have horrific accidents. One of us will probably die.
Yeah.
And it's this, you're reading it, and you're like, oh, this.
Yeah, I know what's coming.
Yeah, exactly. But they are the only films I thought of, Steve. Can you think of any others that I haven't covered there?
I can't, no, mate. My go-to ones, although not racing, motorcycle based, are always the Long Way Round series.
Yes.
Always, although not track based, it's just motorcycling.
Yeah.
And that I can remember. I was how old was I when Long Way Round came out? I think it was about 19 or 20 when they came out, and I remember just watching the Long Way Round, and we didn't have the telly we had now as such.
And there was no series link. Like, you couldn't just record everything.
Yeah, you had to remind yourself. You had to set brain to reminder, which I often didn't.
And then you have to watch it like 4 o'clock in the morning on a Thursday night or something to get the repeat.
Well, luckily, my dad was heavily into it. I remember watching it, and just like I have a little bike in the garage, and just the first thing I did was just pack clothes.
Yeah.
And all I wanted to do was strap a bag to the back of this shitty bike and just disappear. And that just, to me, it ignited, and I'm sure it did for everyone else, just a want to disappear to the horizon. And just see how far I could go.
Certainly. And those series, Long Way Down, Long Way Round, I watched those while I was sitting in a hospital bed. And they sparked that in me completely.
Yeah,
It's
so good.
Yeah, incredible films.
Been so many
series.
Yeah, been so many like series movies that come out before. I'm sure for other people had inspired them.
Yes.
But these guys to me just set it off. And that's all I wanted to do. And even now, I could put it on. I could hear the stereophonics singing the title theme in my head, who I absolutely loved at the time. So that made it even better.
I've never met a legit Stereophonics fan, so it's nice to know there is at least one of you in the world.
There is one of us. When they do another gig, I will be that one in the middle. Go, yay! I just liked it. That was what I was into back then.
That's fair, man. That's fair.
But yeah, those ones to me are my go-to.
Yes, I love them, mate. And they do. They inspire that feeling of, oh my God, the world is open to us and we really can.
Yeah.
It takes a bit of planning and a bit of visa bullshit because obviously countries have to have borders and this whole, let's not get into the arbitrary lines that we will draw with countries and my opinions on this.
Yeah, it made, I think because like technology at the time, it made it more real.
Certainly.
More accessible, and everyone could go. They did it on BMW GSs, which you could go out and just buy tomorrow if you had the money.
Exactly.
And you could pick up the same bike for £1,500 and just potentially go and do it.
Yeah, and my favourite thing is they wanted KTM's.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor wanted KTM's, and KTM said
Charlie Borman.
Charlie Borman wanted BMW's.
Did he?
I believe Charlie Borman wanted BMW's. Ewan McGregor wanted KTM's, and KTM said, "No, we don't think you can do this."
I thought it was the other way around.
Oh, maybe it was the other way around. It was one way. One of them wanted one of them wanted the other. And KTM went, "Nah, you can't do this.
Yeah.
We're not giving you the bikes." And
And then
BMW
it
went,
did it.
"Yeah, off you go."
Yeah.
And gave them the bikes.
Yeah, I just like how in depth, because now you could follow it and you could see. Obviously, more happened. You got the best bits in the edit, but you could see him like fixing the bikes. Everything went wrong, and you got a feel for it, and he really felt there.
I remember a bit where they broke. I think one of them broke a swing arm, or they broke part of the frame, and they had to use a spanner and cable ties to just strap it all up till they get to a welder and a welder.
It shows you could survive.
Yes,
and you could ride. We all do motorcycle rides where you're gone for 2 or 3 hours, maybe a day, and it's like a challenge. How far can I get? Can I go to Wales and back?
Yeah, exactly.
Without breaking the law. But yeah, they didn't come back, and it was just like, oh my god, I could go. And then they did like the long way down,
which was also incredible.
Yeah, Charlie Borman then often did the incredible by any means.
By any means was also very good. That was
nuts, and that made it even more real because you knew then, although that probably had more planning in it, you could just do it by any form of transport.
Exactly.
And then what was it? Last year they brought out the long way up on electric Harleys, which is just like brought it into modern times.
Yes.
And all of it's incredible.
Yeah, incredible series. And they do, like you say, they give you that feeling that you go, well, shit, I could just strap a bag onto my back here and strap the gear to my bike and I could just go. And it's a feeling that I still get watching them now, and it's a feeling that's never left me. And I could actually say that those series had such an impact on my life. I don't think I'd have gone travelling like I have done and seen parts of the world I have done if it wasn't for those series.
No.
Because they just opened my eyes to things, and I just went, wow, look at this. Like, yes, okay, they're fully supported. They've got a camera crew. They've got bikes. They've done all this shit. But if they can do it, I've seen the struggles, and I've seen them have to put up with some bullshit to get it done. But I think we can all do this.
Yeah.
And that's the feeling it gave me, and it's never left me.
But now, like on social media as well, they often meet people who they inspire to go around the world.
Yes.
And there are people. There was a story on Twitter the other day. I can't remember what the woman's name was, but she'd gone off like for a ride that was supposed to take 3 months. We're talking 6 years later, and she's still going.
Incredible.
And it's like, how the fuck are you making your living?
But it's cheap, man. You can do it once you get out there, and like, especially if you're in cheap parts of the world, you can eat for fucking pennies a day. You can fuel up for a couple of quid a day in parts of the world, and you can just go, mate.
And if you've got the opportunity, you've got the means, go.
Certainly.
Live your life.
Just don't look back. Like, it's an incredible experience.
Yeah, I get goosebumps talking about it.
Like, look at that. You legit have got goosebumps talking about it, Steve.
Mate. That's the effect it has on me. It's just motorcycling.
Yeah.
That's what I love, I tinker. There's motorcycle parts in here. I'm planning what I'm going to do with bikes. All we do is about bikes.
Yeah.
There's a reason why we do this.
Exactly.
It is a way of life. It's a brotherhood. It's a sisterhood. It's a big family.
Yes, that's exactly it, my friend. But after those films, Steve, and after that series, I haven't really watched many more. I don't know of any more. So if any of you guys listening have got some cracking films, whether they're about racing, whether they're about motorcycles in general, whether they're going to give me that urge to just pack our bags and fuck off somewhere, like, please get in touch and let us know, because we're coming to the off season soon and I need some shit to watch.
Wild Hogs, baby.
Well, maybe not Wild. Is that the one with John Travolta? Is that Wild Hogs?
Yes.
I don't think I've seen it.
It's Tim Allen, Martin Lawrence. I can't remember the other guy's name. And yeah, John Travolta. It is shite. It's utter shite. But it's just 4 middle-aged men on Harleys riding across America. And it is brilliant.
I can see my future in that at some point.
Yeah. Who is, I want to say Ray Liotta, but I don't think it's Ray Liotta who plays the bad guy. But it is just utter bullshit.
I like that they've managed to make it with a bad guy in this film as well.
Yes.
Like, they have gone, we need a bad guy. We can't just have a few guys just riding across America. We need a storyline. We need a bad guy.
Yeah, it is pure gold. Pure gold shite, and I love it.
Who have we got? Tim Allen, John Travolta, Martin Lawrence, William H. Macy. Ray Liotta.
That is Ray Liotta.
Yeah. And then there's Marissa Tomei.
Yeah, she plays
Maggie.
Yeah.
Kevin Durand, MC Gainey, and then
there's a big cast in it because there's so many like biker extras.
Okay.
Who, when you watch it, you realise that you pick out most of them from other stuff. There's one guy I always recognise from Lost.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that never-ending series which went down in a plane crash. Boom.
Way, that's how it started, my friend. I'm not going to get started on my opinions about Lost because I loved it and I committed so much of my life to that series.
I absolutely love that
oh
series.
my God.
Well, but this is a motorbike show. Let's not get on that.
Yeah, let's not. But if you're going to watch Lost, don't watch the last 15 minutes and it will stay a great series.
Yes, that's it. As soon as you see a church, turn it off.
Right, Steve, let's put it on to the one bit of sort of MotoGP news we got this week, and we're going to lower the tone a little bit with this one because it's not happy news at all.
No.
We had another fatality in the smaller classes of racing, and this is something that has happened a lot this year. I feel like we've had a lot of fatalities in the small classes.
It does seem like this year there has been a lot of people succumb to the sport we love.
Yes.
More so than in recent years.
So, and it's always in the lower classes, which means it's always young guys. Like it's not good.
It's a shame.
Dean Berta Vinales, the cousin of one Maverick Vinales, and actually riding for the Vinales racing team, who are run by Maverick Vinales' father, passed away after a multiple rider collision on the first lap of the World Supersport 300 race in Jerez. Now, I didn't watch this race, thankfully, and I've not watched a lot of this season in World Supersport 300. But from what I understand, he was on the rise. He had been improving. He was getting his best results and was in the leading pack when this crash occurred. It was a head injury. Is a head and a thoracic injury is all I really know, and I'm not going to dig into it much deeper than that. But it's one of those, isn't it, man? Like this is something that's happening in the lower classes now, and it seems to be. Is it because the lower classes have got this pack racing thing going on now? This pack racing that you and I have always said we love in Moto3. It's been this incredible thing, but has it got to a point where now this pack racing is dangerous? Because when someone comes off, is it becoming an issue that they're getting struck by other riders?
I think it depends a little bit on the type of pack. If it's 4 or 5 guys all in a line, if one goes down, you might sometimes have the opportunity to avoid them.
And if they spin off the racing line, that's great. But there's times where you don't spin off the racing line.
No, and we've seen it several times where these guys are just in the way. Essentially, they go down and they're on the racing line, and the guy's reaction time, unfortunately, in braking distance, etc.
There's nothing you can do about it, mate. No. If you're putting 120, 130 mile an hour, and then all of a sudden the guy in front of you is down, and they're 10 meters in front of you, you've not got time to do anything.
No, it is just unfortunate that these things happen.
Yeah, and it's just happened to these young guys, man. Like I don't know what the answer is in these cases, but it feels like
think there's any way around it. If I'm honest with you,
I know, but it just feels tough. Doesn't it? Has this always been the case in the lower classes? Because it feels like it hasn't always been the case in the lower classes.
No, it does feel like for some reason something's flipped this year.
Yeah,
someone's turned a switch on where we're losing all these young guys.
Yeah, and we've seen it in Supersport. We've seen it in Moto3. We've seen it in the Asian Talent Cup. We've seen it across multiple.
It's
classes
across the board. It's not just restricted to like GP racing.
Yeah, exactly.
It is everywhere, and it is just, the one. I want to say the one piece of your body that isn't fully protected, but you've got a helmet on. But even when the collision impact force.
Oh, it's incredible! Your helmet is designed when your head hits the floor.
Yeah,
it's designed to take that impact, and it's only designed to take that impact once. We all know that. But when you drop your helmet, that's game over for that helmet. You've got to get a new fucking helmet.
I think the rules are 3 years or 1 drop.
Exactly. So you've got to get a new helmet because the stuff inside that helmet is incredible for 1 whack.
That's it.
And then after that, it's no good anymore.
Yeah, that's why you never buy a helmet second hand.
Exactly.
Yeah. Everyone who tries to put one on eBay, don't.
No, exactly. The only time you should ever buy a helmet on eBay is if you're buying a replica helmet or it's something you never plan on wearing.
If it's going on a shelf, it's fine.
Yeah.
If something you're buying for a loved one or yourself or a family member, don't do it.
Yeah, and I actually would never buy a helmet that was coming in the post.
No, absolutely not.
You go to a shop to buy a helmet. If you're at a racetrack, you buy a helmet. But you go somewhere and the entire time from shelf to wearing that helmet, it's been in your hands. No one else has been in contact with that helmet at all.
Yeah, don't take the risk.
Yeah, exactly.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, it's horrible, man, and I cannot imagine how Maverick Vinales and the entire Vinales family are feeling right now. And our thoughts and prayers, once again, are with the entire Vinales family.
Absolutely. Just rest easy, mate.
Yeah, certainly. On that, Steve, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll dive into our preview of the... my notes say the wrong thing here, but let's dive into our preview of the Circuit of the Americas race at Texas.
We can talk about Silverstone again if you want.
We're not going to talk about Silverstone again, Steve. So bear with us one moment, guys, and we will be right back with you. Thank you for bearing with us there, guys. We are back. I have a fresh beer, which I'm going to try and open for the mic. There we go. My stubby little fingers didn't get in the way today. That's a treat. And Steve's urinated, so we are good. We are back, and we're here to preview the next race at the Circuit of the Americas in Texas, USA. Obviously, there's some weird things going on at the moment in Texas with COVID and hospital beds, but I've already had a rant about that, so I'm not going to dive into it too much more. But this race is going to be featuring MotoGP, Moto2, and Moto3. No Moto E, because as we know, the title has been wrapped up, and I've still not watched those races, Steve.
Still not either, mate. No, annoyingly, when we spoke last, I found that race.
Yeah, I know. I asked you for the link, and then you couldn't find it again.
I couldn't find it anywhere. Literally had it on my phone while we were sat here.
Yeah, you even played some of it through the speakers.
Did give us a little snippet. But yeah, when you asked me for it, nowhere, mate. I could not find it.
Frustrating.
Yeah, I could find all the highlights, don't get me wrong, but not the full race.
I know, it's coming to the point where I might just have to watch the highlights.
Yeah. Maybe it was my fault. Maybe I brought it to someone's attention.
Nah, because they often get uploaded to YouTube and stuff illegally,
Yeah, exactly.
and then they get taken off pretty quick.
You could probably find it. You dig deep enough, you'll find it.
Yeah, it'll be there somewhere. I need to find it, and I will probably do so over the next few days.
Yeah, I'm going to try and do the same.
So, Circuit of the Americas in Texas then, Steve. This track... Sorry, that's me burping there. This track is 3.43 miles or 5.5k with 20 corners. It's a big track, man.
It is a big track. It's a twisty old thing.
11 left-handers, 9 right-handers, which means this is an anti-clockwise circuit.
Yes.
And you know who that suits very, very well? Long pause.
That is a long pause. I was going for the suspense. Mr. Marquez.
Marquez it is, my friend. Although... it's only just an anti-clockwise circuit, isn't it? And it's a very physical circuit. So I'm not convinced Marquez is going to be as dominant as in Sachsenring or as competitive as he was in Aragon.
No. I think this one could test him. I think he'll be there. He'll be in contention.
Yep.
But I think this one will test the shoulder injury.
Yes, and I don't think he's going to win this one.
No.
However, when we get onto the weather for the weekend,
yes,
it does throw up a... it kind of... You can tear up whatever you think is going to happen, and we will just have to wait and see. But this track is 15 metres wide, so it's one of the wider tracks
it's
again.
A biggie.
But that's because it's one of the new ones. And the longest straight, Steve, this blew me away. I did not realise the back straight was 1,200 metres.
I knew it was long. I didn't realise it was that long. It is a fast one.
Long back straight, 1.2k, and obviously the start-finish straight is also pretty long.
Yes, so Ducati power.
Yes, and Ducati have performed reasonably well here in 2019 when we were last there, but this Ducati goes round corners.
Exactly.
So it could be an interesting one. The circuit first appeared on the calendar in 2013, so it is a pretty new one and was only actually completed in 2012. But as we said, it's a really, really physical track. A ton of fast straights, some hard braking zones, tight hairpins, and some crazy elevation changes.
Yes, yeah, it's not a flat track at all.
It's a very... I don't know. Indy is quite a flat track, isn't it?
It's reasonably flat, yeah.
But I kind of, when I think of American MotoGP circuits, I think of Laguna Seca and I think of Texas, and both of which have got these crazy elevation changes.
They have, yeah. It's not flat at all. There are some... We always see on the telly where, like, they try and show you how steep it is if you watch the build-up. And they'll give you an idea, like do a track walk or stand on a corner.
Yes.
And they'll show you it, and you don't appreciate it on the telly.
No, you don't really notice it at all.
No.
It's only playing the games, to be fair, that I started to get an appreciation of how steep it is. It's a 41-metre climb from the start-finish line to the first corner.
Yeah,
and then
massive.
The steep drop down that left-hander.
If you go up, you've got to come down.
Exactly.
It is big. There's a lot of changes on here. Like you say, it's very physical. I don't know. I've struggled to look at this track this year and think, right, who am I going to pick?
Yes, and we'll get to my predictions in a minute, Steve, but I have been pretty tough with that. I just haven't got a clue, mate.
No, I haven't.
But this circuit was designed by one Herman Tilke, and as we've previously discussed, Herman Tilke has made some banging racetracks, as well as some fucking atrocious racetracks, but this is one of the bangers, and this is great.
You got this one right.
It's really good in MotoGP, it's really good in Formula One, and there was an incredible IndyCar race here a few years ago in which they went track limits, don't worry about them. So,
Ooh,
oh my god, the corner cutting that happened in,
I'll bet.
I want to say it was 2018, might have been 2019, but it was an incredible race in IndyCar because there was a very contentious moment in Formula One in which Max Verstappen cut a corner to make an overtake to get onto the podium, and then in the podium room was moved out of the podium, and Kimi Raikkonen came in to take third spot for the podium.
Just dragged out by the collar. Come on, son.
It very much. It was a very
Really?
awkward moment. Kimi Raikkonen was sort of led in by the stewards, and Max Verstappen's there like, "What's happening?" And they're like, "You cut the corner, mate. You're out." He's like, "No, I made a legit overtake." They were like, "You didn't have all four wheels on the track. I'm afraid you're out." And he was like, "No, I made an overtake," and it was tense. And there's Kimi Raikkonen there, who is very much a guy who. Very stoic, I think you describe him as, until you actually hear him talk, and then he's just a fucking wreckhead. But he always comes across as very, very stoic. And he was just there, just looking, just as Kimi Raikkonen does, never smug, never happy, never sad, just looking like Kimi Raikkonen. And Max Verstappen got booed off the podium for Kimi to come on.
Nice.
So it was quite an awkward, like, green room moment.
Oh, that would have been good.
But the circuit features almost every corner was modelled after a famous section of other racetracks. And very much so. You can see it. The S is kind of based around Silverstone, Maggots, Beckett's complex, and other sections. Very much. This was a track that Herman Tilke went, "I am going to take the best bits of the best tracks in the world and create a monster." And he created a monster. This track is incredible.
Yes, he did a good job with this one.
The circuit can hold 120,000 fans, which puts it at the 19th largest capacity race circuit in the world.
That is a lot. That's a lot of people.
A lot of people, man. But it brought me to a fun question because it got me thinking. I was like, what are the biggest racetracks in the world? I know Indianapolis can hold 250,000 people.
Yep.
So I was like, is this then on par? Is this just an average American circuit, or is there many circuits around the world bigger? And I got onto the list, as we know now. It's the 19th largest capacity circuit in the world, Steve. So I've got a fun question for you here. Which I put in the notes, but I didn't put the answers in the notes because I wasn't that stupid. How many MotoGP tracks can hold a larger crowd than Circuit of the Americas? And if you can name those circuits, Steve, bonus points.
Oh, God.
There's multiple, to be fair.
I was going to say...
It's more than one.
Yeah. I'd say no more than 5.
That would be correct.
I would go 120,000 fans. Silverstone?
Yes. Silverstone is the largest capacity MotoGP circuit we go to. Now we no longer go to Indianapolis.
Yeah. Shy of that.
And Silverstone can hold 150,000 fans, but I don't think they sell 150,000 tickets for MotoGP.
They don't fill it for MotoGP. I want to say one of the Japanese tracks.
You're in the correct region with that, but no. There are Japanese tracks that can hold more, but MotoGP does not go there.
Phillip Island?
No.
No, that's quite small, isn't it? I don't know. Off the top of my head, after...
Okay, so the Asian track that can hold more is Sepang.
Yep.
130,000 fans. And then you've got one European circuit, one more European circuit.
Le Mans?
Not Le Mans. One of the Spanish rounds.
One of the Jerez.
Not Jerez.
Valencia?
Not Valencia.
Oh.
50-50 chance now, man.
Don't know. Just break it to me.
It's Catalonia with 140,000 capacity.
Interesting.
So all 4 of those circuits are in the top 20 capacity circuits in the world.
No.
But there was some interesting ones. Formula One has circuits that it goes to, stuff like Suzuka in Japan, which has a larger capacity as well. But COTA. The most wins at COTA go to one Marc Marquez with 6 wins from 7 races. And that's not only the 7 races Marc Marquez has raced at COTA, that's the 7 races MotoGP has ever raced at COTA. Yeah. And arguably, if he didn't have his weird engine braking problem in 2019, he would have won 7 from 7.
Yep. Yeah, that boy has dominated.
He's just dominated the Americas. This, in 2019... him crashing out of Texas was the only race he's ever lost on American soil.
That's nuts.
Or North American soil.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely mad. Alex Rins took that win in 2019. But Marc Marquez does have every pole position at the circuit, which is just sheer dominance, isn't it? Do you remember when he won his second ever MotoGP race at COTA?
Yes.
2013, I think he was on the podium in his first race, which would have been Qatar that year.
Yep.
And then he put it on pole and won his second ever race.
Never look back.
And never look back.
I wouldn't put it past him to get pole this weekend.
I wouldn't put past him to get pole. I think pole is a fair bet, and as we'll get into the weather,
yes,
even more of a good bet. The outright lap record, surprisingly, belongs to Marc Marquez. He set it in 2015 with a 202.135 in qualifying. And the race lap record, Steve, also goes to Marc Marquez with a 203.575 in 2014. Now, this is another one of those circuits, and we've said this recently when we've been looking at outright lap records and stuff, where Marc Marquez's 2015 times are still the fastest times around those circuits.
That year was insane.
And there wasn't even he didn't even win the title that year.
No.
But he was so fast.
It's nuts when you look at it. You think, how often do you get a situation where the fastest person on multiple tracks doesn't win the title?
A situation much like 2015, Steve, where the only person that could beat Marc Marquez was Marc Marquez, and he crashed too much to take that title.
Exactly.
But then even towards even at the end of that year, he was winning races. He won Phillip Island in that sensational race. I bet he was out of title contention.
Yeah,
he was just so fast. He was just
down and out.
But that changed Marc Marquez that year. Losing in 2015 changed Marc Marquez completely, and it's really only coming back after COVID, and then that Jerez crash that really fucked Marquez. Was it Jerez? It was Jerez.
It was Jerez, yeah.
That's fine. Last year's podium then, Steve. Well, it's not last year. It's 2019 again. We didn't go there last year. Alex Rins took the win from Valentino Rossi, and Jack Miller on the Pramac Ducati finished third. And this is making it even harder to make any fucking predictions, but we'll get to those in a moment. The race distance for this one, Steve, MotoGP will do 20 laps, 68.6 miles, 110k. Moto2 will be doing 18 laps, 61.7 miles, 99.2k. And Moto3 will be doing 17 laps, 58.3 miles, and 93.7k. And as we know, all those races are about 45 minutes.
Yeah.
The weather then, Steve. This is the bit we're going to get into. We're at a time of year that we don't normally go to COTA. COTA is normally, since I think 2014, has been the third race of the year.
Normally it's early, isn't it? Yeah. Just so you get the decent weather.
Exactly. Its first year was the second race of the year. But then from that forward, they swapped it with Argentina. Argentina became the second race of the year. COTA was the third race of the year. And like you say, it's the weather. It's so that it's not too hot because the Texan summer is fucking roasting.
It's insane out there.
This time of year in Texas,
it's wet.
Wet and stormy.
When is the tornado season?
I've absolutely no idea, mate.
No, it's end of summer, or I don't know.
Potentially around now.
Yeah, I was then thinking, it must be about now. That would be a hell of a thing. Hang on, we got to stop the race.
Yeah, quite. And we know Texas has wild weather anyway. We saw it.
Oh, it does have some nuts weather.
It was last year, wasn't it, where they had these crazy snowstorms and stuff.
Yeah.
Power outages across the state. So we know that the state gets crazy, crazy weather. And the weather for this weekend coming up for the race is scattered thunderstorms all weekend. Every day is looking at high levels of precipitation. And hot. We're looking at 24, 25 degrees and hard rain. I would not be surprised if we have sessions red flagged. I would not be surprised if the race does not go ahead at 2 o'clock when it should do. I would not be surprised if there's delays or changes due to weather. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
It's just going to be a hard one to call.
It's a really, really hard one to predict, man. And it's not just the weather that's making it hard. We haven't raced in Texas since 2019. Nope. And in 2019, Marquez was at the height of his powers.
Exactly. Sorry.
Valentino Rossi was clearly competitive. He finished second in this race. Suzuki was looking strong. They won the race. KTM and Aprilia were pretty shit and they were nowhere. And the Ducati couldn't get around corners. And yet it still got on the box. Now we have a competitive Ducati, a competitive KTM, a competitive Aprilia. Arguably, Suzuki are actually less competitive than they were then. Marquez isn't the same as he was. Rossi is nowhere to be seen, but Quartararo is performing magic on that Yamaha. So, honestly, I haven't got a fucking clue what to do with these predictions, man.
I haven't. I was thinking about this at work today. I hadn't really, earlier on, considered the weather until I got home. And then someone put a post on Twitter. And I was like, hang on, if this rains...
It changes the playing field completely.
That is a different ballgame altogether.
Yeah, it's a really tough one, man.
It's hard enough. Like you say, with all the changes, just like you say, Suzuki, Marquez, you take all that into account. Aprilia, Aleix, what he's doing. Where do you start?
It's really tough, mate. And I have just, looking at my predictions here, changed them slightly. So the ones on your screen are different to the ones on my screen. I'm going to say that Jack Miller is going to be incredible in wet or dry conditions. I'm going to take him for the win. I think Marquez, if it's wet, is going to also be incredible. I'm going to put him second. And I think if it's dry, Quartararo is going to be fast. If it's wet, Quartararo will not be on the podium, but I'm going to say they're going to have some dry moments and Quartararo is going to be third. I'm putting it as a Miller Marquez Quartararo, although I wouldn't be surprised if Bagnaia gets up to any of those spots as well.
Yeah. Oh my God.
It's maybe the hardest race of the year to predict.
It's so far this year, we've spoken before about how hard it is anyway, because everyone's just doing amazing things and everything's turned on a sixpence.
Exactly.
But this is just nuts. A track that is nuts with nuts weather.
With nuts weather and a track that we really have no data to go by for what these current bikes and these current riders can do.
Yeah.
Because again, we're in this spot that we've been in before this year where the 2020 rookies haven't raced a MotoGP bike around this track. The 2021 rookies haven't raced a MotoGP bike around this track. It's really, really hard, man.
It is. Oh, God. I am going to go. I'm going to flip it. I'm going to go a Quartararo win.
You're relying on dry weather.
Yeah, I'm relying on dry weather or a drying line from a Bagnaia Marquez.
Bagnaia.
I just think
Marquez.
Now the Ducati turns.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, and that's why I've put Miller on there. But like I say, I wouldn't be surprised if Bagnaia's up there too.
Yeah, looking at last year's podium, no Rossi, no Rins. Yeah, you can't rely.
I don't think the Suzuki is capable of getting on the podium at this race. But then Suzuki have proved us wrong over and over again.
Exactly. It's too difficult.
Could this be Mir's win of the year?
Exactly. This is it. You can't count it out. Yeah, no, I'm sticking with it.
Okay.
Lock me in.
That's what we've gone for then. I've gone for a Miller Marquez Quartararo. You're going Quartararo Bagnaia Marquez.
I'll keep wanting to say we got the first session tomorrow, but we haven't.
No, we're back to recording on a Tuesday. So.
Yeah, I'm really confused. And you're on the sofa. We're in the same room again.
We haven't really even established this, and I hope the sound quality is fine because we had some issues with this new setup, didn't we? But hopefully we managed to get the sound, so when you guys are listening, everything's okay.
We did identify a dodgy cable last time we
did.
We recorded in person, so I got a new one.
And I can confirm, Steve, so far there's been none of those horrible noises appearing. So
yeah, I don't know what was wrong with that cable.
It's just my cables just die and get shit. Yeah. So it's one of these things that the ad money is paying for now. We're paying for new cables and stuff.
Listen to the ads.
Yes, please do listen to the ads.
Yes, lots.
And maybe listen to it on Facebook, on YouTube, so we get hours and views. And maybe actually, guys, do us a solid and go subscribe to the YouTube channel, because that would be great too, because we need to get a large number of subscribers and watch hours before we can monetize that. So,
yes.
And while Steve and I say the ad money is keeping us in cables, let's not fuck about here. Neither one of us is minted from this. It's really only just covering the hosting fees and hardware fees when they crop up. So we're really not making any money from this whatsoever.
We still do this for the love, and we would always do this for the love.
Exactly, that's it. But anything we can get there helps mitigate the costs, because surprisingly, it costs money to do a podcast.
It does cost money. I didn't know until Tim told me last year.
Yeah, about you. We've been doing this for like 3 years before you realised.
Tim's like, I got to pay for this. Like, you what? We pay for this? Do we? I'm just sat here like, this is great. Yeah, Tim comes around, we talk shit about motorbikes.
Exactly.
And he's out of pocket. I had no idea. Legit, that is honest.
Right then, Steve, that pretty much brings us to the end of the show, man. We've managed to fucking waffle on, considering there was nothing to talk about.
There was no. You got here, and I even did a last-ditch check across social media, and the last thing that I saw was Simon Patterson rescuing a turtle in the middle of a Texas road.
Standard, mate. That seems standard.
Just as you do. Just everyone's enjoying a little mini break.
Yeah, exactly.
Some have been extremely quiet this time on social media. Very quiet.
Yeah, it's been a strange one, man.
Yeah, I think the most I've seen is just Elish being at Disneyland with his family.
Yeah. So I have just, as you know, Steve, I did post on Facebook before we started, and just saying, is there anything you guys want to hear from us? And it only goes an hour or something before we started recording, but I have just logged on, Steve. We do have one comment on that feed now
you did look.
In the Facebook group. This comes from Craig, and it's talk about Dorna and what they should do to help levitate all these tragic accidents in the smaller bike series. I assume we don't mean levitate on that one. But limit we'll go with, and we've sort of discussed about that, but what can Dorna do you think, Steve? It's not only Dorna though, is it? It is Dorna because it's World Supersport as well, so that's coming from Dorna.
Yeah.
And I guess all of these crashes we've seen are in FIM affiliated races.
It's in their subcategories. I don't think Dorna themselves can actually do a great deal. They can't
It's stopping pack racing, I think, is
Yeah.
all they can do on that. And I think, how do you stop the pack racing? The pack racing has been exciting, but how do we prevent that? We prevent that, I think, by making large capacity motorcycles.
Yeah.
You move the Moto3 class up to maybe a 400cc class, and we create bigger gaps between them. We know that what is Moto2 now, a 765?
Yes.
So maybe we can have the jump up from the smaller classes running the 250 singles like we see in Moto 3. Maybe we can have Moto 3 up to a 400 or 500cc class. We then have the 765s. We then have 1000cc MotoGP bikes. But while that might create bikes that aren't relying so much on corner speed, not relying so much on pack racing, that's only for Moto 3. Well, how can we limit it in the lower classes is still the problem here, because it's not like mini bikes. There's a nice progression with mini bikes. If you crash a mini bike, you're very unlikely to get seriously injured.
Yeah. I don't think you can ever truly get away from it, because you can't. Let's say you went for a box that is, so we had a 500 series, 4-stroke 500 series, which 17-year-olds are riding. They could be nicely spaced out on a nice dry day, but you bunch them up on a mixed track.
But that's the point. The dry day are most of the time. The dry days on most of the races. I think you have to take weather out of the equation here, because the weather is random. You really cannot control the weather. So I think you have to go for what is the majority of the time. And the majority of the time we have dry races. It's only on strange years that we have more than 3 or 4 wet races.
Yeah, I think you're right. Then the only way we could ever really get rid of that is to up the capacity.
But we can't up the capacity. We can up the capacity of Moto 3. Can we up the capacity of then the lower classes? Can you up the capacity of the Junior World Championship?
I think you'd have to go the other way.
And lower the capacity. Yeah. But then you're relying more on a slipstream. If you go down to 125s again, you're relying even more on a slipstream. You're relying even more on that pack racing in a way. And I don't think you can get away from it. I think it's super, super tough. And people who make a lot more money than you and I, Steve, are paid a lot of money to try and solve these problems, and they are clearly not solving them right now.
No, I don't think you ever will, if I'm completely honest. I think unless you stuck, like, it's almost completely opposite end of the spectrum. If the mini bikes we know, like the OH Vales, really good little bikes. All these guys use them. The mini bike series use them.
Yep.
Very little injuries, unless we kept it that low and that high.
But then it's too much of a jump. People are going to be injured high-siding themselves.
Got to have that progression.
The progression's got to be there.
You can't just hop on a massive thing. It'd be like passing your test and just hopping on a massive R1.
So then do we go to a point where we say a spec series? Because let's not fuck about here. Moto3 is essentially a spec series.
It is basically.
There's 2 manufacturers in Moto3.
Yeah.
It's KTM and it's Honda. And KTM are branded under Gas.
Yeah.
And is there a Husqvarna on there still?
I think Huskies are still in there.
Huskies are still, but they're KTMs. They're both basically KTMs. So
you strip it bare, it's KTM.
Exactly. So do we stop it being a spec series? Do we go on to doing, is it a full manufacturer series? So at least then we have some bikes that are much faster than others, and then the grid's more spaced out. But then what do you do? How do you find the true talent? I mean, the Pecco Bagnaias and the Miguel Oliveras of the world came through riding Mahindras. And I mean, Pecco fucking won a race, 2 races, I think, on a Mahindra. Oliveira never won on a Mahindra, but it seems that the Mahindras and those shit Moto3 bikes at the time created some amazing riders.
Oh, God, yeah.
So maybe that's the answer, but that doesn't seem like a fair answer to everyone.
I think it's an unlimited question, to be honest with you. Like you say, you've got to have a natural progression. You can't just hop from one to the other. So you've got to have a doorway to step through. But then at the same time, if you limit it, which would be a good idea, when you take that step, you're going to be a danger. It's going to be so hard to adjust.
Yeah.
It's
because you're just going to be...
You're going to be everywhere.
You're going to be throwing yourself out of the saddle. You're going to be high-siding.
Yeah.
You're going to be crashing on the front. The bike's going to be way heavier. You're not going to have any idea how to ride it. But maybe that's not true. Maybe the fact that these guys are so good at riding a motorcycle means they can adapt. And we see it jumping from Moto3 where there's no rear-wheel steering. It's all about kind of corner speed. And now we're getting into Moto2 with the Triumph engines, with that 765. We're seeing that it's a lot of rear-wheel steering now. And it never used to be on the Honda 600 engine. It wasn't the rear-wheel steering that it is now in Moto2. In Moto2. So
I was just toying with the idea in my head while you were talking then. If, let's say we had 2 categories. Everyone, you come in as, you go from mini bikes to CIV or CEV. In that jump, you're riding mini bikes, but behind closed doors, you have to log so many hours on a CIV bike on a testing day to get your natural progression, get yourself acclimatized to that machine. So and you have to book that at a track, and let's say there could be 10 people out there at any one time.
And do you do that off your own back?
Yeah.
Do you do that?
You could do it. Let's say you do it with your team.
Does it cost you money? Does it cost? Do you get picked by a squad that is going? This guy's got potential. This guy or girl's got potential. We're going to put them on our bike. We're going to let them get used to our bike.
That would have to be down to like the scouts. I'm just thinking of like the way to do it.
Yeah.
So let's say you're at the top of your game in mini bikes. Someone looks at you and thinks, right, this guy, this girl could be next big thing. Let's give them a shot on this bike. They put you on a CIV bike or CEV bike, and you do well. You start lapping well. You're going around, and you've got to log so many hours. Pretty much like skydiving or anything else, where you've got to just progress behind closed doors. Once you're up to spec and you've got yourself acclimatized to this bike, used to it, you've logged your hours, you are then allowed to progress. You then step on to European racing, whatever you want to call it. From there, you do well there. Before you step up onto a Moto3 bike, you've then got to do exactly the same thing. So you're following the hours. You've got to log so many hours at so many tracks. Once you're used to it, you're then allowed to compete in that series. And you sort of come through.
See, this idea, Steve, is almost exactly what Formula One do.
Yeah.
Formula One, when you step up from Formula 2, you need to get a super license. To get a super license, you need to have earned a certain number of super license points. You earn super license points by your finishing in championship positions. These are FIA super license points. Where you finished in whatever championship you're racing in, you get a certain number of super license points. The most you can get will come from Formula 2. You'll get, say, I can't remember the numbers here, so I'm going to do it off the top of my head. But I think you need 40 super license points to get into Formula 1. But that's not all you need, so I'll come to the second bit in a minute. You'll get 25 of those super license points for winning Formula 2.
Yeah.
But that's still 15 super license points shy. However, your super license points last 3 years. You don't just go into Formula 2, win it, and move on.
Yeah.
So you would have had a couple of years in Formula 2. In which you will then count those super license points, or if you're very good, you'd have won Formula 3 and got, say, 15 super license points. Then you'll go into Formula 2, you'll get your 25 super license points, you've got your 40. Happy days. Le Mans, endurance racing, you'll get a certain number of super license points. Any FIA affiliated series, you will get super license points for. Including IndyCar, which isn't FIA affiliated, you will get a certain number of super license points for that, but it's less than in FIA affiliated race series, which is quite contentious because it's probably actually the closest thing to Formula One.
Yeah.
But it's not FIA affiliated. IndyCar don't want to be FIA affiliated, have always said no. So the FIA have just flexed their guns a little bit and been like, well, we're not going to give you that many super license points then, so no. But that's not all you need. You also need to have done a certain number of hours in a Formula One car, and this can come from either being the son of a fucking billionaire, which means you can buy those hours and just do private testing and just lap a track in an old Formula One car, or by being affiliated with a Formula One team who have gone, this guy's got potential, I'm going to take them and I'm going to give them sessions, and they'll give you outings. You'll see Formula One or Formula 2 drivers going out in FP1 on Formula 1 weekends to put laps in, to put miles in. I think you have to do 1,000 kilometres in a Formula 1 car. And you've got to build that, and you'll get Formula 1 teams that are saying you can come and do it on an FP1 day, happy days. But if you've got an F2 race that weekend, you're not fucking doing it.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
That would be a good... I think if they step that into MotoGP...
And maybe then you can raise the capacities up to a certain point. But that still doesn't get rid of the problem of Supersport 300s, which is a new class that's appeared. And it's a very, very tough one. I don't know the answer here. I wish I did.
That's a good base. That's a really good starting base.
A similar super license kind of process.
You could merge that with... I think you'd have to split it. So you'd have like your prototype racing structured way, and then you could merge that to your superbike way.
You'd have to, because otherwise you're creating a larger divide between superbikes and between prototype racing, and that divide is already large enough, and we're trying to close that divide.
Yeah, you'd have to then basically from a very young age pick your career path, or be willing to then start again.
Exactly.
Whether these, like if you did the point system, whether that be transferable between MotoGP,
it would have to be. Yeah, it would have to be transferable.
I think you'd have to.
In the same way that you can earn points doing touring cars to get your super license points for the FIA, you could earn super license points for World Superbikes, World Supersport, etc.
That might work. That might be one way. I don't think you'll ever fully eliminate pack racing, but I think you could maybe structure the way you came into racing to eliminate. Let's use Jack Miller here as the perfect example. Jump from Moto3 to MotoGP. You could completely wipe that out and just have a footstep tiered way that you have to move up.
Yes.
With substructures that then, if you don't meet the criteria off your own back, or like you say, you're affiliated with a team and they bring you in, they give you the time to progress, clock your hours, clock your points. That way, you're going to be moving through a progressed, stepped learning curve. I think if they were to bring that in, I think that would help a little bit.
I think it would help in a way. I think it would also create the same problem though we have with Formula One now, in which the billionaires that maybe aren't the fastest guys in the grid can pay to get a super license.
Yeah, but but
we also know that motorbike racing, whether you like it or not, is also fucking expensive. And if you've got a shitload of money behind you, you've already got a leg up with or without this super license.
Yeah, unless you went down the road of just saying, right, unless you have to be taken up by a team.
But then that again, what if you're from a country that hasn't got a good scouting system, that hasn't got the good, there's so many problems with this. And I honestly, I wish I knew that. Steve, I like to mouth off a lot. I have a lot of opinions about a lot of things, as you're fully aware, but I don't have an answer to this one.
No, it's a near impossible question. You know, we could debate, we could do a whole show on this. We could debate this till we're through a case of beer each.
Quite.
By the end of it, we'd probably have it sorted out.
Back to the acid and crayons, eh?
Yeah, basically. Where are they? Lots of crayons behind me, actually.
There we go. I'll supply the acid. You bring the crayons. Happy days.
Sorted. We'll have some better livery next year, trust me.
That would be a nightmare of a podcast, mate. Can you imagine? I'll be like, God, Steve, what is this thing I'm talking at? Oh, God, it's amazing.
Just headbutting the mic.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I don't know what the key is. I think it's something we will never truly see the back of, pack racing.
No, we won't, but there has to be a solution, doesn't there? Because this year has been particularly rife. And I assume it's been... I mean, we've had this pack racing for a while, so this year has been particularly bad, but there has to be an answer. It cannot keep going this way. If it goes this way for another year, then there's
big changes.
Real problem. If it's just a bad year, and unfortunately, I know that we can sit here and say it's a bad year, but for some families, for
those who are grieving,
it's destroyed their lives. Yeah. It's changed lives completely. So we call it a bad year. Some lives will never recover from this at all.
Not at all.
But yes, you're right. I think if it's a one-off bad year, then okay, it's been a bad year. No one wants it to happen, but it's sort of part of the risk. But if this is something that's going to continue, then something needs to be done. Yeah, and I don't know what the answer is.
These machines are not necessarily the most powerful we've ever seen, but they are definitely the closest competitive fields that we have ever seen, and that is part of the problem as well. Never before have we had this many champions in all classes. You know, never have we had all the access, so many roads to get there before.
Do we... You say we've not had as many champions, which sort of gets me thinking a little bit, is they're so young now. Everyone is so young. Coming into MotoGP,
so many more
they're young.
Series now.
There's so many series. They're starting so young. Yeah. Is it something to do with the fact that they're jumping onto these bikes too young?
Maybe.
And it's not like...
We're always producing new series.
Yes, and it's a choice, obviously. But if you want to be a motorcycle racer and you're given a chance to move up another category, then you're not going to say no to that.
No.
No one's going to say no to that. So is this now a responsibility on Dorna, where Dorna have to start putting better minimum age limits and stuff? And we know minimum age limits have been there in the past.
There's a time to up them.
Exactly. We know there's the minimum age limit on Moto 3, 16. Yeah. Unless you win something, unless you win Asia Talent Cup or you win...
then you can come through 15,
14. Or you win the Junior World Champion. I think it's 15.
Yeah,
the Junior World Champion. Scott Redding came up early. We saw... Jesus Christ, I had the guy's name in my head there. Quartararo came up early after doing the double in the Junior World Championship. Do we just say there's a hard limit on ages and then to move it on? But what difference does that actually make? Does it just make they're a bit older so it's more acceptable for them to die? Is that it? It's a weird thing, isn't it?
You're kind of putting a stamp on it then. Oh, you're 15? Yeah, you're good. You're expendable.
Yeah, exactly. It's not okay if you're 14, but it's okay if you're 15.
But then you could go to the flip side of that and say, right, let's say you're 14, you win the championship, you can't progress until you're 16. you have to stay there, defend your title.
Yeah, that's fair. Is there a minimum age on MotoGP and Moto2?
No, I didn't believe so.
I'm not sure there is. I don't know what the answer. I don't know if
No,
there is, but we do know there's a minimum age in Moto3.
Yeah, I think it should be. I think hard stamped age limits, a step progression, and I don't know, cleverer people than us.
Yeah, that's the big part of it. It's you and I are fucking armchair experts, mate. We ain't got a clue.
No, I think we could come up with a lot of good ideas that are probably feasible, and if we, bidded some of these to Dorna, they'd probably take some on board. But at the end of the day,
but then Dorna have got people that they pay to
yeah,
come
exactly.
up with these ideas. They don't pay you and I to make these
they
decisions, man.
Don't listen to us. But it's nearly an impossible answer.
Mm-hmm.
I am really hoping that this isn't the norm from now on. This is what we're going to see.
I hope it's just a terrible year.
Yeah, I hope this is just a very unfortunate year, and these families are just unfortunate that it's their loved ones that have been caught up in it.
Yeah,
and hopefully next year everyone will come through this unscathed, and we'll look back on it and think, Jesus, what the hell happened?
Yes, yeah, I think that's all that everyone is hoping for right now, and I think that's what Dorna are hoping for. I think that's what everyone in our position is clearly hoping for right now.
All right, so everyone else out there who's racing, stay safe.
Yes, exactly, guys. Stay safe out there. Okay, Steve. With that heavy one out of the way, let's run through the top 10 in the Fantasy League quickly.
Let's give one.
And then once we're done on that, that will be the end of the show, guys, because we had nothing to talk about, yet we've managed to chat shit for a long, long time.
We like talking.
So we do like talking, Steve. Especially, I've been at the pub all day, mate, so I really like talking.
I was at work all day.
Right then, the Fantasy League here, Steve. 10th place is Free Iannone from the USA. In 9th is Petronas STD from Great Britain. Tim's Titans, me, is in 8th, also from Great Britain. His and Herpes from the USA in 7th. Then we have Arkosh Kovash from Australia in 6th. A new name there.
I was thinking to say, that's a new one. Someone snuck in there.
Someone has snuck in there, but it's tight, man. It's from 10th to... actually. Say from 10th up to 2nd, there's 60-odd points separating us all. But yes, Arkosh Kovash is there from the USA. 5th place is Tiger Motorsport from Great Britain. Then also from Great Britain is Team Crash in 4th. Here we get into the podium positions and the prize-winning positions. Don't forget, my friends. 3rd place is Nine Toes Racing from the USA. But Nine Toes, you're not safe because you are only 7 points clear of 4th place. Here Comes Thee from the US is also is in 2nd. With 1,433.5 points, putting you about 17 points clear of 3rd, and then a big jump of 76.5 points
it a little bit.
up to 1st is Kragers. And we know from speaking to Kragers in the Facebook group here, Kragers is also doing very, very well in the US and the global leagues.
Smug it.
So, so guys, you really have some beating to do. Kragers scored 149.5 points in the last round. Did he use his boost? He definitely used his boost because he got 70 points for Bagnaia.
How many of the top 10 have got boost left?
1.
Ooh.
And that's His and Herpes there in 7th place. His and Herpes, by the looks of it, did not use a boost in the last round. I scored 121 points in the last round. Tiger Motorsport in 5th scored 148 points. Here Comes Thee in 2nd scored 123, and Kragers in 1st scored 149. So, His and Herpes, I honestly would not be using your boost for this next round.
No.
I'd probably be saving it for a safer bet.
I was thinking earlier in the week, I've got 2 left. Should I use them? I was like, no.
Not at Texas, mate. Not a chance.
No. Where am I again? 48th?
I will have to press the load more button a few times, Steve.
You're going to have to get down right down the bottom. I haven't got it loaded up, and my laptop looks like it's about to implode on itself.
There's 60 people in this league now, Steve.
60?
60 of us, yeah. So, Steve, you are...
40-something. That's not my age.
46th. There you are, with 1,046 points. Even Sarah's above you, Steve.
Shush.
Sarah's there in 39th with 1,104 points. So for household bragging rights, mate, you are...
Getting thumped by the missus.
54 54 points shy, 54 and a half points shy.
I don't think she's used a boost yet either.
She's used 2.
She's used 2, cheeky bitch.
She's used 2, but I didn't really score much in the last round. It has a full Ducati lineup.
I was going to say she's gone full red.
Full Ducati lineup. Interesting to see that she's got the 2 Pramac boys ahead of the 2 factory boys.
Yeah, I keep telling her to swap those.
So that's how the Fantasy League's looking, guys. And don't forget that our prizes. So those of you in the top 10, you're probably not winning first, but I'll be honest with you all, the prize is the same for the top 3. So it really doesn't matter. Just scrape into the top 3 and you're getting a good prize out of it. So they are still up for grabs. His and Herpes, I think it was, who hasn't used their boost yet, was it?
Yeah.
Yes, His and Herpes, you're there. Don't forget to use your boost. We've also got a few people here, Steve. Quokka's Revenge in 11th with a boost left. Team Top Step in 12th with 2 boosts left. Sick 58 in 13th with a boost left. Slim Fresh in 14th with a boost left.
They're all in with a shout.
Yeah, and Little or No Clue sitting here in 16th place with 1,318 points. So actually only 100 points shy of the top 3. Is sitting there with 3 boosts left. So if you make some good decisions over the next few rounds, Little or No Clue, you could be in for the chance of a T-shirt here.
You could be wearing our faces.
Yeah, it won't be our faces, it'll be your faces.
Faces.
Oh,
yes.
It will be our faces.
Yeah,
We're having all of our faces on there. It will be our faces as well.
Jesus.
So there you go. That is how it's going. It's hotting up, mate. The Fantasy League there is hotting up as much as the Formula One Championship is hotting up this year.
I'm liking our league this year. We did that little one last year. That was good. This one is really good this year.
It's really good. And I can say I'm doing better this year than last year, so I'm happy.
I'm doing worse, mate. I'm doing really bad.
You are sadly doing worse, Steve, yes.
But I still maintain, I'm going to have to look back through at the end of the season. I don't think there's more than 2 or 3 races where I've had all 4 riders finish.
That doesn't surprise me at all.
No.
It's been a weird year.
Yeah. And I've changed so many riders, but you can only change one at a time.
Yep.
Bastards.
I have just those Ducatis have been potent this year. I'm very glad I got them into my squad early on.
So I didn't have one at the start.
That was an error.
Yeah, that was bad. That's where I lost all my points.
Yes, exactly. That's the end of the show then, Steve. So, guys, if you've got anything you want to say to us at all, you want to tell us your solutions to how to fix this small capacity problem right now in the lower classes, if you want to tell us about the MotoGP films or motorcycle films and documentaries that you love, please do get in touch and tell us what they are. And you can find us on...
We are For the Love of MotoGP. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter. I will get back on there. We'll put some stuff. I've been a bit slack recently. Or come and join the Facebook community. We're still growing, I think, over there.
We're still growing?
Yep, that's coming on
It's growing
nicely.
slowly, but it's growing.
Yeah, come and join us. Come and have a chat.
It's again been pretty quiet, and I know I said in the last week's show I promised I'd reply to all the emails, and I didn't. I got distracted again by real life. I can only apologise. I'll try and do it this week.
I keep forgetting as well. Been busy, so yeah, apologies from us both. We will get round to it. Come and join in. Come and have a chat. Give the Facebook page a like, or if you want to drop us an email, we are for the love of MotoGP@gmail.com.
So, guys, thank you all very, very much for listening. We will be with you next week with our COTA review show. Stay safe out there, look after each other, and we will speak to you next week, guys. Goodbye.
Take care, guys.
Music is by Andrew Greenwood. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.